Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and this is going to be my October half wrap up. So I've only actually read 4 books in the first half of the month, or finished 4 books. I've started a few others, but I think I might be in a reading slump because I have had a really hard time reading anything that isn't super relaxing. And even like my old reliable favorite series I'm having a hard time getting through them. So I read 2 J.D. Robb books and even they were a difficulty, and reading anything else was not easy. So hopefully things will pick up a little in the last half of the month. I'm gonna try reading some other books that I have from the library that aren't like on my immediate TBR, but that maybe will be easier for some reason. But for now I've got a bit of a dearth of books. But that means I can go into a bit more detail when talking about them. First of all, for Latinx Heritage Month, I read Twice Quinceañera. This was recommended by Cynthia of, I think, Book Whimsy. I'm not sure, but I will link her channel below. This is a story, I would put it as women's fiction with a side of romance. It's contemporary, and it is about a woman who was going to get married, but her fiance does one last thing that breaks the camel's back, and she finally breaks up with him for good a month before the wedding is supposed to happen. And he's been her fiance for 5 years, and they've been in a relationship together for I think over 10 years. And she's also now approaching her 30th birthday, and her 30th birthday is going to be the day after her wedding was set to be. So she goes home to tell her family that she has broken things off, and it's very upsetting because not only because they had a relationship with the son-in-law to be as well, but because the entire extended family is coming from Argentina and other far-flung places to come and be at the wedding. And this was not only an opportunity to see family after a long time, but to show off to family how successful their daughter is and what a wonderful, she refers to him multiple times as a trophy husband she has. And she goes upstairs to the bathroom to get some privacy and recover herself, and finds a magazine, and in the magazine there is a spread about a treintañera, or a double quinceañera, celebrating a woman's 30th birthday instead of her 15th, or in addition to her 15th. And it has a lot in common with a regular quinceañera, but is for an older woman who might be rediscovering herself or might just want to celebrate all of her accomplishments. I think the one in the magazine was a woman who hadn't had a quinceañera, but now that she was old enough to afford one for herself, she was going to do this double quince. And our main character is a lawyer, so she can afford to throw her own huge big party, and she's already put down this deposit on flowers and food and a venue. So she decides that she's going to turn her wedding-to-be into a double quinceañera, because that way she will still get to show off for her family, and her family will have a big party to come to, and she'll get to use all of the things that she already paid for. Which this kind of shows how useful it is to have representation of things such as a woman celebrating just herself at 30 years old, instead of either despairing at being 30 years old or having to have a wedding in order to have a kind of celebration where all her family comes together and celebrates her and her life going forward, and where kind of a reunion where you see people from your whole life come back together. Representation of people doing things and having done them before really helps other people to feel free to do them, because when she shows the magazine to her family, they're much more accepting of the idea because it's something that other people are doing. So I like that aspect, and I really love the idea of a double quinceañera, and I love the idea of even if it's not done in the form of quinceañera, if it's just done in the form of a party that takes the place of the cultural place of a wedding for a single person. I think that's really a cool idea. And one of the things that kind of made it a little difficult reading this book is that it made me realize how much I want that kind of thing, how much I want other people's approval and other people to celebrate my accomplishments. I've kind of stuffed that desire down and tried to recognize that my own approval is the most important, and to try to get as much fulfillment as I can from the approval of the people who are closest to me. But this book kind of made me realize that it really does have an effect when the more tertiary people in your life, your teachers, your former teachers, people at church, your more extended family, are not proud of you. It opened up a whole can of emotional worms about how having a big fancy job, having any job period, but especially having a well-paying one, and other types of accomplishments like long-term degrees and getting married are all things that people get societal credit for, and how not having those things has really affected my self-esteem, even though I've worked really hard to not let it. So that definitely affected my reading experience, because I was envious. It made me confront some things that I have been stuffing down, like I said. So that was definitely part of my reading slump reasons after I got finished with this. I was just a bit dejected and having to process my emotions. So I think this is really good for me in that aspect, because it is healthier to confront things rather than let them fester. But yeah, so you spend the book with the main character planning and switching over her wedding to a quinceañera, also having flashbacks and talking about her relationship with this guy and why she stayed with him and her feelings about breaking up, and also this little side romance with the owner of the venue that she's booked, which is a double perspective, and there is a fair amount of romance to it, but it really is more about each of the characters handling their issues and working through their emotional problems and growing as characters than it is about their relationship. Even though their relationship is featured quite a bit, I still wouldn't call that the central conflict. So it's kind of hard to like put this book in a box, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just easier to recommend it to people easily when you can put it in a romance box or a women's fiction box. And so we also follow along with the hero's family and how his family is trying to save their business, which is running this venue, and how he is having trouble with his relationship with his dad after his mother has died, and his dad has early onset dementia, like really early onset, like in his 40s, and him growing past feeling like he has always been someone to run away from his problems in the past. He is now running towards making his family's business work, and also possibly towards our heroine. And it's also about her spending a lot of time with her family as they come for the month of preparations for the wedding turned quinceañera. And how she figures things out with them and like handles the fact that her great grandma has dementia, and she's got cousins who she hasn't seen forever, and cousins she's never seen at all, and uncles and aunts, and how they're all processing this, and a lot of them are quite supportive, which made me feel good about that. And Some of them are less supportive and handling all those things. I highly recommend it. It's very good. Yeah, might make you want to have a big 30th birthday bash. So yeah, I might might throw myself a really big 30th birthday party in 5 years or so. Then the other physical book I finished was Within These Wicked Walls. This I read quite quickly and I really enjoyed it. It is this one for Black Halloween, and I also and I will link the video that I saw it recommended in below. That one talks about it as a Jane Eyre retelling. Is a Jane Eyre retelling. And I haven't read the original Jane Eyre because I know I don't want to. I know I won't like it because of the things that I heard other people say about it. But this one has a very different character of Mr. Rochester. And it is about a house that is haunted through no fault of the Mr. Rochester. It is a haunting that was passed down to him from his dad. The main character is a Debtra, which is someone who works with the church as sort of a agent of the church to cleanse various hauntings, any kind of spirits that shouldn't be doing what they're doing. It also has content warnings at the beginning, which I appreciate. Do I remember, and I do not remember what country it's set in. I don't even know if it actually says what country it's set in, but I'm pretty sure it's in Africa. The author is Jamaican American. Pretty much everybody in the town that she is from is black, and all the main characters are, but the servants who work in the house are white, and Mr. Rochester is mixed race, because all the black people are not stupid enough to work in a haunted house. Our main character is going to cleanse the house, and she has protection. She has an amulet that she wears, and she is a carver of amulets, which the amulet on the cover has a lot of detail. I really liked how it is depicted just as it's described in the book. That's cool. And she carves these and weaves thread into them in such a way that will get rid of various different hauntings in the house, because there are lots of different manifestations of the haunting. So she gets rid of them sort of one by one, and meanwhile is having some times with Mr. Rochester. And I really like Mr. Rochester and our main character. He's very sweet, and she is very traumatized and is working through that, and is coming to terms with a lot of things, and has had a difficult relationship with her father figure, and is a remarkably good and caring person despite all the difficulties she has been through and all the times that caring has not worked out for her. Yeah, there were a lot of very spooky times, and I did not read this at night very much. I'm surprised I read it at night at all, but it was so engrossing that I didn't want to put it down. So that was really fun. I really liked all the details of the hauntings. They were creepy but also really interesting. The various side characters, and a girl who has had a crush on Mr. Rochester for a long time, how kind and self-sacrificing she is, I really enjoyed, and I really liked that she and our main character were not antagonistic towards each other and actually valued each other. That was cool. So yeah, I highly recommend this one. Spooky times, but on the lighter side, because it was not too scary for me, which is a lot of things are too scary for me. Then I read the ebook editions of two of the more recent J.D. Robs that I hadn't read yet. I have been kind of putting it off because I wanted to reread the semi-recent J.D. Robs before I got into the new ones, because I wanted to remember what the more recent side plots had been, because she has continuous side plot progression alongside her main plots. I started rereading at number 50. We're now at number 55, and I think the new ones I read were 53 and 54. Yeah. So I read Forgotten in Death and Abandoned in Death. Forgotten in Death is about finding two different bodies on construction sites right next to each other. One of them has been dead for 30 or 40 years, and one has been dead for like a day. And sometimes she'll have two connected murders solved side by side, and sometimes they'll be unconnected. So I really like that, and like figuring out if they're connected, like and if it's a coincidence, which usually it isn't, because murder writers don't believe in coincidence. Yeah, bringing justice to a cold case can be like particularly satisfying because the bad guy thought they got away with it. And then Abandoned in Death was about a serial killer who had been abandoned as a child, and the serial killer ones can be especially upsetting, but this one was not a rapist. On that note, whenever the serial killer is not a rapist in these books, the doctor, the head doctor, what are they called? Psychiatrist, says that he must be either asexual or impotent, which for one is a vast overrepresentation of the percentage of serial killers who are asexual, and also is one of those demonizing asexualities where if you're not a sexual person, you're not really a person, which is also simply not accurate, because the reason he was not a rapist was that wasn't part of his trauma, so he didn't feel the need to reenact that on his victims because he was reenacting with them. So why would that be part of it if it wasn't part of the trauma? So that bothered me quite a bit. But it is always quite brief. They don't go on and on. It was very brief. It was just in there, so I wanted to mention it. And the next book I have paused and not reading right now because it looks like it's going to be about busting a sex trafficking ring, which I'm not in a mental state to read about very much. So I'll read that one a little bit later. And I'll try to read more Blackoween stuff. I've got several books checked out that fit it, but I also have a few indigenous books, indigenous authored books that like have to go back to the library soon, so I might switch to those. And I have a few books left over after the middle grade readathon, so back in September, so I might read any of those that I can manage to that might help me get out of my reading slump. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you're having a non-reading slumpy October. If you'd like to leave an emoji, how about a pumpkin, because I did my pumpkin harvest before I filmed this video and found a whole ton of tiny pumpkins. There's some more over there, and thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate all of your comments, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye!